Hello, everyone. My name is Marianne Brown, and it's my pleasure to speak with the panelists who are speaking during the Clinical Supply and Logistics meeting at the Scope Summit this February 2 through 5th in Orlando. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves and your position and what your primary responsibilities are. Barry, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Miriam. Hey, everybody. My name is Barry Moore. I'm based in North Carolina. I work for GSK. My role is Director of Supply Chain Systems. So I manage a lot of the enterprise applications that run our clinical trials at Glaxo.
Okay, Derek, I see you up next, so we'll go ahead with you.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm Derek Thornton. I'm based out of Utah, work for Amgen. I head up the IRT team. Here at Amgen, I'm Associate Director of Clinical Systems. And so in my role, support all the IRT efforts in support of our clinical portfolio.
Imran?
Yeah, hi. Imran Shakur. I am based out of Alexion in our Boston office. Alexion is part of AstraZeneca's rare disease unit. In my role, I sit within our clinical supply organization where I head up our clinical supply chain systems, including RTSM.
And finally, Paul.
Hi, this is Paul Hughes. I'm the director of RTSM at Johnson & Johnson. And I'm part of a group that's called Digital Solutions. And it's a good name because we try to use software and systems to solve problems or requirements that people have, of which there's a lot in this space, which we'll talk about.
And you all are speaking during the Untangling Complexity in IRT and RTSM, the Pain Points and Progress panel this February. I'm going to ask you, what is your current pain point? And Paul, I'm going to start with you this time. What's your current pain point?
Well, I'll tell you first, one thing that we're good at is building systems. We're really good at doing that now. But what our pain point is and what we are committed to getting good at is data. It's all about data, taking the data from the RTSM system and other related systems to make good decisions about where how the supply chain should be maximized, operationalized, optimized. That's where we're going to focus in 2026, is getting the data right to make good decisions.
All right, good start. Imran.
It's hard to follow up on that one because I think that's such an important point. But I'm going to go even more broad and say that this is being a bit dramatic intentionally, but I'm going to say everything is a pain point. And what I mean by that is that all of us here, we've been in the RTSM space for a really long time. And I think some of the same problems that we've had, whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even longer, 15 plus, are still problems that we see today. So data is certainly a big part of it, integrations, partnerships, the way that we work is really kind of a challenge. I would say that is pretty unique to our space.
And Derek.
Well, that's even harder to follow, Imran, because you said everything.
Sorry.
But I mean, I would agree. I mean, in the environment we're in the industry today across clinical development is just a need for increased speed, and that results in a lot more complexity, in our protocol designs. And so I think one of the big pain points we're experiencing at Amgen as our portfolio grows, as there's more pressure to get to market faster, is handling that with external service providers of RTSM systems and trying to balance it across a number of providers, leveraging our standards that we need to implement. So it's just adapting in today's environment in the industry.
Great. And Barry, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to build on what Derek was saying, we put a lot of time and effort over the years into acceleration. This is a very competitive business, and it's nice to be able to work in organizations like the RPS where we can work non-competitively and solve some of the problems that we're all experiencing. One of the big focus areas for the last couple of years, and certainly will be again in 2026, is the site experience. So in my long career, we've worked a lot for efficiencies very much internally at the sponsor level, perhaps in our warehouses, in our labeling processes. But sometimes we put a lot of technology in, but I think we may have overwhelmed the site with all the technology that they now have to deal with and all those complex processes to make our lives a little bit faster and easier has perhaps put a higher burden on the site. So a big focus, I think, in 26 again will be improving the site experience. Everything from them receiving drug at the site to filling in the paperwork to doing drug returns to working with their patients, all of those things and how they interact with our system to ensure that they get the patients and of course then improve the patient experience as well. So a big focus next year will be on the site.
On the site. Okay. And then finally, you mentioned this, Barry, but you all are instrumental in launching the new RTSM Professional Society. Can you tell me a bit more about that society? And I'll let anybody jump in who wants to jump in with this one.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll get started. Yeah, we're super excited. We've been live we launched at the 22nd of October, so we've been live for a couple of months now. We've had already in that short period of 8 or 9 weeks, we've had a huge amount of engagement and excitement. We were worried, would this work? Would this be successful? Would people be interested? And we already have dozens and dozens of members. Over 150 people have signed up already. And there's a huge amount of demand where people like thankfully we finally have a place where people can get together and engage and be, and share problems and solve problems together. So RPS is meant to be a place for the industry by people in the industry to work on these problems and have that opportunity, to commune and talk through problems and solutions. Emran?
Yeah, no, I think well put, Barry. And this is probably why I said, everything is a pain point, because I did want to tie it in intentionally into RPS, right? Because historically, we've never had a dedicated forum in this sort of organized fashion where we can all come together and collaborate, talk about things, whether it's standards, whether it's, how we engage with regulatory agencies, and creating that community that really goes and it's intended not to be not just for people who are in the roles that the four of us are here in, but on the vendor side of the business, right? People who are programmers, people who are validation analysts, our stakeholders, clinical operations, right? ClinOps has a huge stake in RTSM systems. So we really are wanting this to be that community for everyone.
Okay.
Paul, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, it's so interesting when you get 3 or 4 people together and they talk about their pain points. You see the other 3 or 4 nodding their heads, right? And if you had 2,000 people talking about their problems, you'd see 2,000 people nodding their heads. We all have the same problems and challenges, and to date we've all been handling that independently and differently. So we're really excited that the professional society can be a way that we talk about those challenges together. We can start to align on approaches and solutions, and we can tackle them together. And we're going to be a lot more successful when we do it together than when we try to do it differently and independently. So already within the first several weeks, there's been a lot of that type of discussion about hey, I have this, what do you do, and that exchange has been really, really vibrant, really healthy, and we're going to build on that in 2026.
Okay.
Derek?
Yeah, maybe, all great things said about the RTSM Professional Society. Maybe I'll just add that we're excited for the future. in 2026 and beyond, it's going to be a great opportunity for us to be a community. We have that society now in the RTSM industry to be a community, to get together locally with others of this interest, to get together nationally, internationally, even, to be able to collaborate, as as Paul and others have noted. So I'm excited. I think all of us here are excited for the future of RPS.
Well, I want to say thank you all for further information. Please visit the Scope Summit website and specifically the Clinical Supply and Logistics meeting. And I just want to end it all with thanking you and wishing you a buoyant 2026. I'm looking forward to next year. Thank you all, and bye-bye.